be the fourth quarter report. That's also the closeout of the fiscal year. And judging by past experience, that information is usually coming in right as we're going into the final budget hearings. So if it comes in any earlier, we'll definitely share it. But it's usually available at the end of the second month after the quarter, and that would be the end of August. So that you'll probably get at the final budget hearings. And but if we are pursuing any other budget balancing strategies, we would definitely keep you up to date.
Supervisor Pinches.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, can I make a request again this year to have this document, the pages numbered? To refer, it's really, just about all books have page numbers. And when you're referring back to it, it's really nice to have page numbers. So can we put that in there?
Yeah, the intent would be
No,
for the
they
final
got-
budget book to have,
They're out of order.
Page
Just regular
numbers.
page numbers. I guess this is a question for Howard here. Howard, on your fixed assets, first of all, I wasn't gonna say anything because I didn't wanna say anything. I've been harping for 2 years for the road department to get an excavator, and I see it's finally in there, so I'm really happy about that. Especially with a thumb on it, which really comes in handy. But a $500,000 three-wheel dump truck, what kind of a truck is a $500,000 dump truck?
Boy, I don't know, John.
That seems, I mean,
Gold plate.
right now, you could probably go out, you could, that's gotta.
That's probably for more than one
I
truck.
was gonna
That's
say, I
probably
hope so,
for
yeah.
trucks, plural. That's someone left an S off.
Okay. 'Cause it says one three-axle dump truck.
Yeah.
That's what it says.
When I was on my way down here, you finished with Health and Human Services quicker than I thought, so I was trying to get down here in time. You had asked a question about, what DOT had in their budget from the state money, and it's just been all over the place for us. In fact, next week in my director's report, I'm going to try to distill some of those reports that are coming out now with some projections. So hopefully I'll have some news to give you them. But basically, we put $3 million in our budget this year that we think is going to come from the Prop 1A, 1B somehow. And part of that $500,000, I think, was for truck replacement, which we're trying to do to meet the air quality things. It's part of our
So
plan there.
that's more, just $500,000
right.
truck. Yeah,
And-
'cause I hope we're not buying $500,000 dump trucks.
And if they pull back on that, that'll just get delayed. It was an easy thing to kind of put in there, and then if we have to, take out. It looks like we won't have 3 million. Jennifer just asked me, are we going to need an adjustment? It's changing all the time, but we were pretty close. But it looks like those numbers are going to add up to more like 2.6 or 7. So it might be $300,000 or $400,000 less than we estimated with that 3 million. But it still looks like with the 1A and 1B, we'll get close to that.
Because if you're buying $500,000 dump trucks, there's gonna be every
Yeah.
dump truck firm and selling trucks in the United States calling you and wanting to sell you one.
No, not a $500,000 dump truck.
Okay, I have one question. Allison, you mentioned keep towing the line on fixed assets. At this point, this is the list of fixed assets, because there's a number of departments that aren't listed here with any fixed assets. One in particular we talked about just within the last 2 months, of having had one item listed in a fixed asset, future acquisitions, and they came forward with a whole list later on in the year. That department's not even listed here.
it's a slight change in strategy here. I think before there was an attempt to project expenditures and project revenues, but what we're talking about doing now is as a fixed asset is needed, then the revenue source, the requests for that and the revenue source will come forward together to the board. And that seems like that way people can make the connection between the revenues and the expenditures, and it's easier than trying to tie it back to some estimated numbers.
Okay. Supervisor Delmar?
Well, on the fixed assets, a quick question for you, because there's one on here for $600, one for $1,000, and $2,800, $2,000. What's the limit on the fixed assets that can be purchased without board approval? So we're listing them here, some very small dollar ones, But if departments are going, hey, I need a new gizmo and it's gonna cost me $5,000, that's underneath my limit, I'll go get it.
My understanding is right now the fixed asset is 2,000.
2,000, okay.
However, if it's something that's fairly valuable, I think we were still wanting to track IT purchases. So you may see some of those on there as well.
Okay, thank you.
Supervisor Pinches?
How many people work in our Office of Emergency Services?
One.
Well, there's Bill, and then there's Bill.
So why does he need 3 laptop computers?
That's
Five.
part of what we're
Or
doing.
5?
But that's part of, we're setting up the training center, which we're required to do, and those monies, I believe, are coming from Homeland Security. So there is a requirement that employees be trained in various facets of emergency response, and this is setting up a training center in the old retirement board trailer. But it is revenue offset from a grant. That's why we're doing that.
Our federal dollars hard at work.
Yeah, unfortunately, the federal government is our worst enemy. They give us a list of what we can purchase, not what we need. And so many times our choices would be different if it wasn't specifically regulated by what they tell us you have to purchase, what's eligible.
If we had a major earthquake in this county, well, we got 5 laptop computers sitting over there.
But we'll have well-trained people as part of that, so.
Additional comments to this point? Okay, Allison?
Well, that concludes our presentation, and so you can have further discussion, questions, take public comment.
Yep.
Well, there were 2 other comments that I was going to make as we come to a conclusion that's out there. I just, I want to add a precautionary note. We get impacted by the county by reductions in state programs. One we've been dealing with just in the last few days is a reduction in the UC Davis programs with John Harper. And without going into great detail, the state is cutting back on the other side, and there may be a need for us to still help with a program that the county sees a lot of benefit from because of cutbacks at another agency. So it's not just about us. In some cases, we will need to help assistance in programs that were formerly paid for by the state. And then on the fixed asset issue, the state law does allow fixed asset purchases. It is governed by the auditor and the board of supervisors reaching agreement, but fixed asset purchases can be up to $10,000. We just have a limit here of $2,000. It's one of those operational decisions that you have to make at some point in time. How are you willing to trust the people that have the money? Sometimes counties use the fixed asset limit to artificially constrain the budget process, and sometimes we use it for tracking things like computers, which become easy to walk out the door. But there are different ways you can handle fixed assets in counties. So,
Supervisor Pinches?
Just, in the 3rd district, we're kind of known for taking care of ourselves, and through this budget process, it takes a lot of work, but